Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week's live. I think this is live number 40 here on the channel. So today is going to be just a bit of a general catch-up, chat with everyone. Going to talk about some of the ATO changes that have happened in the crypto space and just about ATO changes in general, about what your options are. So talking about amendments and stuff like that, because I know that's my popular. I'm going to talk a little bit about some older tax returns because I've got a question about them and had a couple of clients ask the questions just a few minutes ago as well. So I thought probably a good time to discuss that. I can see Andrew chucked a comment here saying, "Hey, Ethan, just wondering if you're able to lodge tax returns from 2011 on your software, asking for a client. Ours only goes back to 2014. Unfortunately, I'm probably using the same software as you, so mine only goes back to 2014 as well. And beyond that, I have to do the paper tax returns, which are just a pain. The ATO take forever to process them. Every time I do them, even lodging them electronically, as far as submitting them online, they take forever. The ATO, you have to constantly chase them up to get them processed, and they're just a pain. So, yeah, unfortunately, and that's where I wanted to lead into. Seeing a lot of them coming up on the ATO system again, time and time again, saying, this client hasn't lodged a 2011, 2012, 2006 tax return. They want to see them. And when I go in, if they need it done, sometimes it's like for $2 a tax, and you can't lodge no return required. So they want to see a full tax return, and there's no, like, a lot of softwares don't support that, and therefore the process can be quite time consuming. And then it's like, are you going to charge someone $100 kind of thing to do something where they're going to get $2 back from where they may have been working a part-time job while they were at school or something like that? So it's a bit of a frustrating system. So is here. Good evening. How's your day? Yeah, my day was good. Been yeah, pretty good. I hope everyone else is well. I haven't hit one of these for before. Make sure you've hit the subscribe button if you are tuning in, if you're on the rewatch. We're getting closer to the 3,000 subscriber mark, so that's really cool. I'm going to plug a few things here early on. The Discord, so we're at 248 members now over on Discord. So if you haven't joined the Discord, make sure you do. Yeah, plenty of historical stuff in there as well, where you can look up some tax-based questions and stuff on a range of different topics. And yeah, 248 people is a nice little community we've got going on there. So that's been really cool. And of course, we've still got the NFT collection. So I'm not sure if that's even the actual current link, but head over to the Rooshock's website. The link should be in the description of the video, and you can find out more about the NFT collection. So what I did want to talk about tonight was the ATO changes. So there's been some changes. I'll talk about crypto in particular in a minute. Talk about some amendments, like what you would do and stuff. So the ATO do make changes recently, like via their website, and be like, hey, this is how we're viewing this situation now. And obviously, outside of that, you can get changes that come through. You normally budget night when you have proposed legislation changes to particular things. We've got the whole accelerated deductions, or whatever the wording is, the extra 20% for certain deductions. I think some technology and staff training, and that's still going through draft legislation and stuff like that. So from time to time, there are changes that the ATO or the government will make, and sometimes they could be something that is like semi backdated, so that it is worth paying attention to when these things happen. So Chris has swung by. G'day, Chris. How are you? Hope you are well. And yeah, so the ATO can make changes from things, and typically, like, and I'll talk about it further and talk about amendments. But the thing is, you should still be doing, like, even if you're predicting that they're going to make a change, you're still better off to have your lodgements up to date, make your payments, do all the right things, because it gives you a much better case that if there is something where you can go back and change something and amend it, you do it as what the current rules, what the current regulations are, not what you're thinking they might be. And obviously, this leads quite well into the crypto changes. So I've got the video. If you haven't checked it out, it's the last video that went up on the channel. It went up yesterday, talking about the ATO's significant change to airdrops. So there is now what they've referred to as initial allocation airdrops, and these are deemed to have a $0 cost base, and you only pay tax when they are sold. So this is quite a different change from saying that they derive ordinary income at the time of you receiving them. That has been clearly made that is not the case. They don't derive that ordinary income at that time, and purely they take on a $0 cost base, or they may have a small cost if you've had to pay a gas fee or some kind of fee to get this initial airdrop. And then that, when you sell that, that token, your gain is likely going to be, whatever you sell it for, because it's got a $0 cost base. So there's been some prime examples of this recently. We had the ApeCoin drop, we had ENS, we had Looks. These are all tokens that were just suddenly sent to people, and some people were getting I've got clients that got $3, $4, $5,000 in some of these drops, and all of a sudden it was like that was the income. And by the time they went to sell it, it's like they couldn't sell it quick enough, and therefore it's dropped. And all of a sudden they had $4,000 or $5,000 income event. They sold it for $2,000. They had this capital loss, but maybe they already had other capital losses overall, so that didn't help them. They couldn't offset that capital loss against that income. It just didn't make sense. Like, it was just a really bad system purely because they hadn't done anything to want that airdrop. Like, they hadn't gone out of their way. It was just something that was sent to them. So it seemed a bit bizarre for them to get, negatively treated overall because of something that just happened. It was just sent to their wallet. Like, that was a bit of a poor system. So it's good that they've made that change. I think that's really positive. And I know people are hoping it will change when it comes to staking rewards. I don't see that happening anytime soon, purely because they do use the example of other airdrops on there, that if you hold a coin that is then airdropping, like because you hold coin X, you're going to receive coin Y. That's not an initial allocation. And I've been caught with, that before, actually you're getting something airdropped to you like that. But I've definitely had some of those other ones where it's like, oh, you get airdrop this, and suddenly it has a value at the time, and then you've got to pay tax on it, and then it ends up being a loss. So it's a bit of a pain. So I'm glad they've made that. I don't know about staking rewards. I know people have asked me about it. Is that going to change? And it's just like, I'm not sure. And it will be an interesting space to watch. So that leads me, perfectly. And people do have questions. Make sure you do drop a question in the comments. I'm happy to discuss it further. But I just wanted to, expand a little bit further on what I discussed in the, the static video that came out yesterday. And sometimes on the live, I can go into a little bit more detail about specific things. But that leads into like, okay, what happens if the ATO do make a change like that? You've already, done your tax return. You've included your ApeCoin drop as ordinary income. What does that mean? So what it likely means is that you will be able to do an amendment. Now, this will depend on where that falls within time frame. So there is normally a 2-year amendment period. You probably may have the door open there if it does fall outside of that. But a lot of these things are more current. So they're probably, more relevant for the 2022 or maybe even the 2021 tax year. So to do an amendment, what you first want to do is go, okay, am I affected by this? And what is the actual difference? So if you've got software, crypto tax calculator, there is the ability to toggle the function that will change airdrops from being treated as income. Now, you do want to be careful with this because the ATO are saying not all airdrops should be treated like this. It's just the initial allocation airdrops. So do be a little bit careful with that. And I'm yet to speak to Crypto Tax Calculator about, is there going to be the way to differentiate between types of airdrops? You could always move the others and use them as like staking rewards in the system just to keep that simple. But, you want to work out, okay, what's the difference this is going to make to my return? Have a look at, okay, what's the difference to my ordinary income events? What's the difference to my capital gains events? It's likely in this situation that if you've sold that asset, it's going to reduce your ordinary income and potentially increase your capital gains. But that could work out in your favor. Or if you haven't even sold it, it's just going to reduce your ordinary income, which for most people, they're going to be quite happy about that. So then the process would be, if you've lodged your own return, you should be able to go in and do an amendment through the MyTax system. I'm not 100% sure exactly how that works because I don't work in that system. I have my own tax agent system, but go and do that. If you're using an agent, have a chat to them. It's likely that I'd say most agents probably will charge a fee to do this. Like, they're going to have to do extra work. They have to go in, amend the return, run their eyes over those figures, re-enter the figures, lodge the reason why for the amendment, do that, like chase signatures. It's likely going to be a process, and therefore there's likely going to be a fee most accountants will charge. But, especially if you've received quite a bit of those airdrops, it could work well in your favor. Like, even if you're going to pay couple $100, $50, whatever your accountant charges you to do the amendment, but you're going to end up $300, $400, $500 in front-end tax, well, it obviously makes sense to do it. And obviously have a look into, how is your software treating these? If you're using software, if you've got a spreadsheet, do you need to change things up of how you're going to track these things going forward? Because obviously it is quite a significant change for those that have, been involved in these things. And I think that's comes back to any kind of ATO changes like I was talking about, is that you've really just got to be patient and do the thing that, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, treat it how it's, a reasonable argument based on what the current information is. So whether that's ATO website information, whether it's tax law, if you really disagree with what's on the ATO website, are you going to go seek a private binding ruling? Or are you going to make sure you've got a really good, well-written out case based on law as to why you have treated it a certain way? That way, if you get an audit done, it's easy to go, like, up until this date, nowadays, okay, now we've got this new thing. It's easy to go, yeah, this is how I've treated my airdrops because this is what you guys have said. Whereas if you're trying to argue differently to what's, on the ATO website, then obviously you're going to, potentially run into a bit of trouble. So does the recent change make a difference if you need to claim mint to receive the airdrop compared to an airdrop randomly sent to a wallet? So that does fall under. I might actually try and find the exact ruling, and I'll bring this up here because there is a talking about, if you do need to claim it or potentially spend on it. So let me share my screen here. But a really good question because that's something I tried to cover in the video I did, but whether I really explained that well. So here we go. So airdrop. So we got initial allocation airdrop. So say they're using the example of CSwap, launched its own native protocol through a community airdrop, suddenly received the 800 tokens. Josh does not derive ordinary income or make a capital gain because that. There is the other one here, capital gain on initial airdrop token that requires payment. So we've got TXP distributed the new HXP to participants who paid an amount for the new token. So Calista pays $1 for each token and receives an initial allocation of 1,000 HXP tokens. Calista does not derive ordinary income or make a capital gain as a result of receiving the 1,000 HXP. When they're sold, the $1,000 makes up the cost base, and the capital gain will be the difference between sale, which in this case is 4,000, cost base of 1,000, so we've got a $3,000 gain. So that's the basics of how it will work. So it doesn't matter whether it's something just dropped to you where there's no payment, or whether there is something that has an initial allocation but requires a payment or requires a gas fee to claim or mint it. So that still doesn't mean that it's a ordinary income event. I think the example they use that's different to that is just normal airdrops. So we've got has held coin A tokens, entitling her to receive monthly BTT airdrops. So I know I was receiving BTT airdrops at one stage on some exchange. I had some coins on. I don't even know what it was. It might have been related to Ripple or something like that. So because they're not initial allocations, receiving ongoing airdrops, then they are ordinary accessible income. But anything else that's like the initial allocation of a token or a coin, that isn't an ordinary income event. It falls under this new treatment. So that will likely now. Someone did ask me about NFTs. NFTs are going to be a little bit, again, you're going to have to assess these on a coin by coin or a case by case basis. Token by token, NFT by NFT. You really want to have a look at those and go, okay, what is this initial allocation? So for an NFT, if I just been randomly dropped this, that's an airdrop. Maybe it has some value, but it's likely going to fall under the initial allocation. It's no income until you sell it, which is great. Like that's obviously definitely happened for a lot of people, and to me that logically makes sense, especially for NFTs. That's really hard to derive a value. It was just with the initial allocation airdrops that previously, that was easy to identify they did have a value the moment they were dropped because people were trading them pretty much instantly, and that's why it got a little bit messy. So definitely positive, and really, really good question. So something else I did want to talk about was the Ethereum merge. So that's obviously we're not far off of that happening. I believe that could happen within the next 24 hours. So yeah, pretty much don't do anything. Don't fall for any kind of like scams or saying, oh, you need to do this to be able to get your coin. Like it's not going to happen. For those who don't know, the Ethereum protocol is changing to a proof of stake concept rather than the proof of work. The beacon chain, which has been running for a while, will merge with the current change. All information carries across. So all your transactions, all your balances, all your NFTs, everything comes across. Most NFT projects, including mine, you're only going to support what is on what will become the main chain. There will likely be a fork where I'm not sure if that's even the right term, but where the proof of work chain remains. But all the big exchanges, all the big NFT projects are likely not to support that at all. So be very careful. There's a lot of things. Oh, you should do this or do this to try and take advantage of it. For the average person, probably the best thing is to do nothing. Just let it roll. A lot of exchanges have stopped accepting sends and receives of ETH, which is a bit of a pain. I was trying to send some from a hardware wallet to an exchange the other day, but they'd stopped receiving them just while because everyone's just a little bit like, all right, this is probably one of the biggest technical things to happen in the crypto space for a long, long time, if ever. So a lot of people are just like, okay, they just want to really do nothing around the time it happens just to make sure everything runs smoothly. And I think everything will be fine. It just, people like exchanges and stuff are obviously just wanting to make sure everything runs nice and smooth. So yeah, the ETH Merge is definitely coming up, and there's a bit of discussion in the Discord as what it really means. And are we going to see any price movement either way? Who knows? It's a bit hard to predict these kind of things, but definitely a positive thing. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, going to change things up a lot for those that were mining ETH, because obviously there were a lot of people doing that. I definitely had some clients and stuff that were mining heavily in ETH, so it'll be interesting how that works of where people move their mining resources to. Does that, create some demand for some other coins and stuff? And yeah, it's definitely an interesting time. It's been a long time coming, so I might look that up and see how far away we are, which because they're waiting for a certain. Yeah, they're estimating around about 20 hours based on current difficulty and hash rate. So yeah, by this time tomorrow, we'd expect that the mergers will happen. So yeah, so other than that, it's still working on plenty of tax returns. Gonna really try and the goal is over the next few months and stuff to really try and ramp up the YouTube content. I've been listening to a lot of interviews of successful YouTubers, Mr. Beast, and people like that, and it's really motivated me to keep trying to grow the channel. And the channel has been a bit slow at times outside of tax time, so I really want to work on getting more. And I know I've been a bit slack on getting the consistent content out, so I really want to focus on getting those at least 2 videos out every single week. So again, if people have got video suggestions, drop them in comments, drop them on any random video, drop them on the YouTube community tab, send me a message, Twitter, Instagram, send me an email, or anything like that of suggestions, because I obviously want to make content that you guys want to watch and want to learn about. So definitely happy to do that, and obviously a range of different topics and stuff like that. And yeah, trying to make that content as soon as like a change like this happens, especially in the crypto tax space, trying to get that content out to you guys. So I do really appreciate you guys that have dropped in, and appreciate everyone that's I've had a lot of you guys that have come across from YouTube and become clients of Rooshock Accounting, which has been really awesome. And yeah, the business is going quite well. Just working with a lot of new clients across a range of different, not just crypto space, but yeah, picked up a few new small business clients in the last couple of weeks. So it's been cool to work with a few people in different industries that are doing some really cool things. So appreciate everyone watching, and yeah, I will talk to you guys soon.